Hello everyone, hopefully this video isn't too windy. It's a beautiful day outside and I need to change the oil on this John Deere 450C. So I didn't put any of this in any of the videos, but I was doing some I guess dirt pushing or whatever. I was cleaning out a creek that we have, and there's an area we cross at, and sometimes it gets a little too muddy, so I was cleaning it out with the dozer to kind of make it a little easier to cross, and lo and behold, I got the dozer stuck. So that wasn't fun. Apparently the area filled up with a lot of real soft mushy soil, and anyways, long story short, got it stuck. So as I was recovering the dozer with the other crawler that we have, the front end of this dozer got down into the water, and the dipstick on this I'm gonna fix the dipstick seal on it, but the dipstick wasn't pushed in well, and water was pouring into the engine through the dipstick hole. So didn't think it was going to be that much water. Not that I knew about it anyway, but I didn't realize it until after I got it out of the water. But the oil was pretty creamy, and you know, I'm doing an oil change for it. Hopefully it didn't do anything to the engine. I think the engine sounds okay. That's the, anyway, so if you don't know, this is the dipstick hole right here, and I've got the dipstick removed. This is the oil filter, which hasn't been changed in a little while. I've got this dozer relatively new, and I was going to change the oil in it anyway. This is not the reason I wanted to change the oil, it just needed an oil change. But here is the filler cap where the oil will go into. I took that cap off too, mainly because I have them over there on a bench and I was cleaning them up. Anyways, the water got in there enough to kind of make the oil cloudy, kind of milky. So if you get up underneath the dozer, and if your belly pan's still on there, you'll see a hole. I think you can see it. See that hole there where the oil's dripping out? So there's a hole in the belly pan there, so you can take your drain plug out without having to drop that whole belly pan. I'm going to probably drop that belly pan one day anyway. But for now, I need to get good oil in there, and so I have a little peace of mind. So as you can see, I don't know if you can see it in the video very well here because there's not much light, but see how that oil does not look real pretty dripping off of there? It's kind of grayish colored. So enough water got in there to make it do that. So don't underestimate how much water can go through that little dipstick hole. But anyway, so I'm draining it out. I've read online about some flushes. I was gonna buy a flush. Then I read about a lot of these older guys who used to work on these for a living, and it looks like the consensus is about 3/4 of just cheap engine oil. I bought 5 gallons, and it's not going to take 5 gallons to do the oil change on this, so I'm going to put about 1.5 gallons of engine oil and about 1 gallon of diesel. So apparently you put that in there and you run it for about 10 minutes, just let it chill at idle, and it will clean a lot of that out. I'm going to take this oil filter off and drain it, but I'm not putting the new filter on yet. I'm going to still leave this old filter on there when I do the flush, and then I'm going to drain the flush fluids out. I'm going to toss this oil filter, unless when I do that flush it still looks pretty bad. I may do a whole nother flush because I just don't want any water in that oil. So I may do a flush or two. I'll let you know as this video wraps up, but just want to let you know, if you are working on a John Deere 450C, there's your dipstick, there's your engine oil filter, and there's your filler tube, whatever you want to call it. You know, it's got a screw-on cap, and then you got your dipstick there, which I have laying on the counter. And it's as simple as that. You go in, you take the plug out from the bottom. There's a hole already there in your belly pan, and I think I'm pretty sure it was a 1 1/8 inch socket. So you need a 1 1/8 inch socket to take that drain plug out, and that's it. Let it drain. I'm letting this drain for a little while, and then I'm gonna go get the oil and the diesel prepped and bring it over here, put that plug back in to get all this going. But again, I am going to take that oil filter off and let it drain also, just to get as much of it out of there before I do the flush. All right, I'll be right back. Took the oil filter off. Man, look at that nasty oil. Man, that looks horrible. That is pretty much what's poured out the bottom. The oil wasn't the greatest before this happened. Like I said, it was on my list to change the oil in this thing. But man, that just looks horrible. I really hope it didn't do any permanent damage to this machine. Just used a typical oil filter wrench to get that off. It was a pain to get off. I don't think that's a new filter. Couldn't find any dates on it to see when they last changed it, but I'm sure it's a long time ago. Alright, so I think it's had time to drain well. I'm gonna put it back together and, like I said, do about half oil, half diesel. This takes about 2 gallon, 2.3, something like that, I think it said. 2.5 gallons, let's say. So I'm gonna put about a gallon oil, gallon diesel. Put this whole crappy oil filter back on just to not waste a good new filter, and flush it. And I'm probably going to do it twice with how nasty this thing looks. So alrighty, I'll give you an update soon. Alright, so I've got the oil put in, the diesel put in, about 50-50, and I had to put a new oil filter on it. Luckily I bought 2 oil filters, so I guess I bought the right amount this time. The oil filter I took off, I punctured it with the wrench. It didn't want to come off, so I had to squeeze it pretty good to get it to turn. And apparently I put a little pinhole in it, and it's enough to squirt like crazy, so it squirted oil and diesel out everywhere. So anyway, so I put on one of the new ones. It's fine. I've got another new one I'll put on after this. And then I took the cap off the top because I'm hearing like a small clattering noise every now and then. I'm a little worried that there's this intake tube here that goes along the top that somebody just had laying here. I'm a little worried that may have sucked something tiny up in there, maybe like a small rock or something, because I'm hearing some kind of like popping noise, kind of like a rock is in a can, and hopefully it didn't suck something into that turbo. Don't really want to take that apart, but if I have to, I will. And as you can see, all the dirt and mud that's splattered up on this thing, I had to take the muffler off to get the, where is it? There it is, the top of it off, top hood. And then the front of this thing, there's 4 bolts that you take out, and this thing will lean forward so you can access your radiator and your cooling radiator, your oil cooler. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and crank it up, and y'all see what I'm saying if you hear that noise. So this thing right now is running with 50% oil, 50% diesel in the crankcase. This is supposed to flush the engine, kind of clean out all the garbage that's been in there. And the oil that was in there was pretty nasty looking as it was, so hopefully this does a good flush and gets all that out of the engine. That oil up on the engine is where the oil filter had a hole in it, and it squirted all out. See all the crap on the radiator that got sucked up in when it started getting deep. It was time to get it out. We ended up turning the engine off, but it was still deep enough to suck up some of that in there before we got everything turned off. thing was caked up with mud all the way up to the bulldozer cylinder there, the blade cylinder. I got a piece of rebar and I was going at it trying to chop off as much mud as I could, spraying it down with the water hose, just so I could get in there and access everything to change the oil. But looks like it's running okay. I don't see any smoke. I'm hoping just changing the oil is going to be good enough.